Ignition inside. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have liftoff.
Today we're joined by the founder of a beauty brand creating high-performance, vegan, cruelty-free products. From working on makeup counters in Scotland to becoming one of the most influential voices in beauty, her journey is one of creativity, community and knowing your audience. Now as a founder, she's proving that passion and purpose can build an empire. Please welcome to the podcast, Genevieve. Right, before we get into it, if you like this episode, which I know you're going to, please don't forget to like and subscribe and to share it to your group chat. Welcome to Ladies Who Launch. I'm so pleased you're here.
I'm buzzing to be here.
Honestly, I'm so excited to have you, and I've wanted to talk to you for so long. And what's so interesting is our listeners really want to hear from you too. Anytime I do a Q&A, they're like, can you get Jamie on? Can you get Jamie on?
I'm so flattered. Honestly, I think maybe it's because I work by myself in my house a lot. Like I work remotely, my team's all in London. And for so long my career was, kind of like solo work as well.
Yes.
I forget that there's real people out there.
Real people, and they want to hear from you, girl. They want to hear from you. I always like to take it back to the beginning. I think it always gives such a good sense of, I hate the word journey, but where the journey started. So what was life like for you growing up in Scotland? I know that's where you still are now, but how do you think that early environment of yours shaped, I suppose, your love for beauty and creativity and everything you do now?
I think so living in Scotland, I love living in Scotland, Glasgow, and I'm pretty sure, I'll stay there forever. But my beauty journey started quite late. I was chatting about it on a meeting yesterday. I don't have like a frilly story about me doing my makeup when I was like 9, 10. But I do remember watching my mum doing her makeup in the mirror of the car. So in the front seat, I would be in the back seat watching her. And she had like 5 products, not fancy, probably out of date, but she would take so much time creating her like everyday face. Okay. And I remember, when you're a young kid, you can really sense emotions, and you can really, especially with your parents and things. I loved it when my mum felt confident. So the difference in her from when she went in the car and then she did her face on the way to wherever we were going, and the way that she carried herself after she left, I remember being really excited to see that version of my mum.
That's so interesting. You do forget children, like what they pick up on, like, and you're so right. Like, I definitely think I act differently once I feel myself, before getting ready and after. I'm sure if you ask my kids, they'd be like, she was a beast before. Now she's really friendly now. She's got a bit of lippy on.
But it's amazing. And the confidence, I remember that so well. And I remember, it was like, I can't even remember what the bag was, but it was a super like humble little bag with a couple of products. Our lip liner was that size, it was really well loved. But that always stuck out to me. And then I've always been a bit of a grafter. I worked since I was 14 in a kid's soft play. But I still...
Wow.
Yeah.
You wouldn't want to be there on a hangover?
No. But I remember getting ready for work. I felt so grown up and I couldn't wait. I couldn't wait to be like in the working world. But I would do my makeup to go to work and I would feel so put together and so excited by it. So it really was that kind of confidence in it. And it was almost like a bit of a uniform in itself. And then... I think going from, loving makeup, I fell into actual makeup artistry kind of by accident. I was just naturally pretty good at it. I was in college doing art, and I had to do makeup for a couple of people's units. They had to do photography, fashion. So they needed a makeup artist to do something for the photos to get taken. So we didn't have a makeup artist in the class, but it's so gross, but I had my bag of makeup and I was like, I'll try. So we just kind of like scraped together a look with using just everyone's stuff. And I didn't realise that people were behind me watching me. And I was having so much fun. When you're in your flow, you don't really see what's going on around you because you're just having a good time. And it was my kind of, I was going to call them comrades, my student colleagues, my student pals that said, you're so good at that. And I was like, do you know what? I actually loved that so much. And because I'm quite an impulsive person, I messaged a friend that I knew had gone to college to do art. And in the same conversation, she gave me all the details, and then she said, there's a part-time job at Estee Lauder. Do you want to apply for it? And little did I know it was because you get 50 quid every time you help someone get hired. Yeah, so so I'm glad she got her 50 quid.
You went at 50 quid.
Yeah. So in the space of 1 week, I was studying makeup, working on a counter, and it all just kind of really aligned. Everything just kind of felt right.
And is that like you as a person? Because I kind of recognise that trait in myself. Like, guys, I found my thing.
Yeah.
I love this. Okay, forget what I was doing before. That's now parked. I love makeup. I'm going to take on this job. And has that always been you? Like, quite impulsive, but kind of quite, I suppose, intuitive, knowing, what's for you and kind of recognising that purpose.
Yeah. I love that you used the word intuitive, because that's exactly what it was. And when things aren't aligning or don't feel right, the only word I can really think of is sticky. Everything's sticky.
Yes.
It's not really working. I don't really feel like doing it. I've not got the energy. But then when I have that excitement, it's like fuel, and it
you
just
could run
takes
on no
me.
sleep.
Yeah.
It's just that momentum carries it.
Totally. And then from there, it's kind of like a mad whirlwind. But I started on counter. I started on makeup counters, and that I loved it. I thought I'd found my thing. Like, I was like, just leave me here. I honestly, it was.
And what was it that you loved about it? What, the actual product or speaking to customers? What was?
Yeah, I think I loved being in service of customers in that field that I loved so much. So, I was good at what I did. I think anyone that works on makeup counters is naturally a good salesperson, but I was always, it's the same thing. See, if I was trying to talk about something that I didn't really love, that felt sticky, and I was like, oh, I can't really do this.
Yes.
But I would barter with my manager, and she would say, we want you to sell 10 of these mascaras. And I'd say, I hate that mascara. It's a terrible mascara, but I will sell you 20 of this one that's amazing. And then that's what I would do. So if I'm excited about something, then
you can give it
it's
everything.
easy. Yeah, I can give it everything. So working on counter as well, it's the people. So it's the customer. And again, it's the same thing as when my mum would sit down in that seat and leave a different woman, that herself, but just a little bit more stripped back. Even though we put makeup on, it's just like there's just an ease, there's an easiness to the way that she would carry herself. So the customer, it's the exact same thing. They would come and sit down needing help. It could sometimes it was quite emotional as well.
Yeah, of course.
I remember colour matching someone for foundation. They'd never wore foundation before, but they had their mum's funeral, and they just wanted it. That's what they wanted. They got really red when they cried. They didn't want to look like that. So I remember we sat and talked about it for like 20 minutes, and even super hard situation, but that woman got up and left like feeling better and supported.
Feeling confident going into such a kind of monumental day. I think you kind of can't overlook how personable you have to be sort of in that space with someone. It is quite an up close and personal thing, like doing someone's makeup, being like the glam team that I use, I've had for years.
I bet they're friends
because they're family.
Yeah.
Like, it's not, and I think you can't overlook how kind of close and like sacred that little bubble is.
Yeah.
And I think that's credit to you and your warmth, and I suppose that time that you invest in someone. Like, it's more than makeup, isn't it, at that point?
Yeah, totally. And that's almost like the journey thing, isn't it? It's more than makeup, but it so is.
Yes.
And back in the day, products were called camouflage and cover up. And
you're so right, yeah.
Tons of the products that were made, back then it would be for the woman. It's not like that anymore. It's for people. It's for anyone that wants it. Which is such an exciting way that the industry's moving. It's not that beauty standard of a certain type of way looking woman in our whatever era of our life. It really is open to everyone.
It's so relative, isn't it? I think the world has kind of slowly picked up on that.
Yeah.
Guess what? Everyone wants to feel beautiful.
Yeah.
Like, there's no kind of, this is a certain look, or of course there's going to be trends and certain moments that spike and things really pop. But of course, everyone wants that, right? And it needs to be accessible in that way.
And back in the day, again, everyone probably wanted it back then, but they didn't feel welcome because that beauty standard was just plastered all over a beauty hall, and all the people that worked there looked the same way probably, and it's just it's a totally different landscape. And I started on Estee Lauder, super classic brand, you know, legacy luxury brand, then moved over to Illamasqua, and that is, do you remember Illamasqua?
Yeah. Are you joking me? That takes me back to like my girl band days.
Yeah.
The colour and the eyes and the like. I remember the nail colours as well that I love.
So cool. But
Yeah.
they were really, really ahead of their time with inclusivity. So that's when I was 19 when I worked there, and I had all different types of customers because the brand appealed to all customers.
Yeah, it really did. You're so right.
And that was, for me, it made me feel so excited, but also really proud to be, you know, not everyone's extroverted or flamboyant or, you knows exactly what they want. Some people need more help, and some people are, you know, super introverted. So that really taught me about the kind of emotional intelligence that you have to have with customers as well.
Yes.
Which I just loved. I get so much from my counter days. And when, you know, now that the brand's grown so much, we have our own pop-ups and we have our own moments, and I get to sit down with that customer in
like
the
full
same
circle.
way. Oh, it's the
Yeah,
best.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
the best. We were in a Space NK store the other day, and I was meeting loads of customers, but I brought a brush belt just in case, and we were so mobbed that there's just too many customers for who we had on the counter. So I put my brush belt on so I could start doing colour matches. And I took a girl over to sit in her seat, and the first thing she did, she sat in her seat and she went, "I'm meeting a man." And I was like, "You're meeting a man?" And then I ended up just chatting about, you know, it just felt like being back on counter like this. They honestly, as soon as a bum hits the seat, it's like they spill their guts. They're like, "That I'm going on a date." And I'm like, "That, tell me more. How did you meet? Are you excited?"
It
was so good.
It's
so
like
good.
a therapy session, isn't it? It really is. That relationship is so special. So you're working at Estee Lauder, you then go to Illamasqua, and then what happens from there?
So when I was at Illamasqua, I'd finished college, and I had started posting on social media. So every morning I would do my makeup, and I would do it really like out there, wacky. Illamasqua's kind of gothic, so
Yeah.
I was kind of my gothic era, which I loved.
We love it.
So pretty full on makeup, really different looks, and I would take a selfie every morning and post it on Instagram. And this was back in the day when Instagram was just pictures. Like
Yeah,
it was
remember that,
one picture a day.
It was so much easier, girl.
It was so much easier.
There's a lot more to deal with.
And at the same time, I worked. I think I'd stopped working in the pub. I was working in a bar. I had like a bit of a dive bar, and I was also working in Lush, the bath bomb shop.
Oh yeah,
so
I know
I was
that
just
smell anywhere.
Yeah, of course,
Fills the
especially
high
with the kids,
street,
right?
doesn't
Especially with
it?
kids. But I was kind of juggling all these jobs, and I was doing my social media thing kind of on the side. Well, it wasn't on the side because it wasn't a thing. It was just posting on social media.
Yeah, you didn't know that
No.
what that could lead to.
And I remember I sat down with a customer at Illamasqua, and they'd found me on Instagram, so I'd started growing a bit of a following. I remember I hit 10k, and I was like, "I'm hot shit. This is amazing." And the first
It's
thing,
a lot of people.
it was-
Of course, it's amazing.
I was
Yeah.
buzzing, and my first thought was how exciting to have a community of people that love makeup like me, and quite a lot of them were from Scotland or even Glasgow, so they would come and find me on the days that I was working, and I was making all my targets, and I was like, "I'm on Easy Street. This is great." And when you made target, you got boosted commission, and
Yeah, of course.
you know, I wasn't earning much money at all, but I was like, you know, if I had enough money to pay I had the tiniest wee mortgage because I bought the tiniest wee flat, and I was just so buzzing with myself. But
And also, I think finances aside, having that sort of fulfillment in knowing I'm really onto the right thing here, what I'm doing, I'm doing it at the best
yeah,
of my ability and the best I could be.
yeah, I just loved it as well, and I really put everything that I could into the brands that I worked for at
Right.
the time. You know, I actually really loved being an employee and wanting to make them proud and be like really valuable to them. But I sat down with a customer, and they'd found me on Instagram, and obviously a selfie. You know, I was posing, I was acting all fierce, but actually in real life I'm not at all.
Yeah.
I'm like a big marshmallow. So I was sitting down and I was doing this girl's makeup, and she was like, "You're so different to what I thought you were going to be." And I was like, what do you mean? And she was like, "You're just so nice, and like you're so chatty and you're funny." And she said, "You should start a YouTube channel." And I was like, absolutely not, I'm not putting myself out there like that. And but she'd planted a seed, and I went away and I thought about it, and I had a look on YouTube, and it was like Halloween time, so I was doing these crazy Halloween makeups, and my followers were asking me how to do it. And I was like, how am I going to explain how to do this in a comment? So
No, because it's so visual. You
It's
need
so-
to see exactly
Yeah.
what you're doing.
So I got my laptop out and I filmed it on my laptop, and it's the crappiest video of all time, and I'm so terrified in it. I'm like really, really nervous, not myself at all. And then I just posted it, and I remember I sent a link to the video to the boyfriend at the time, now husband, and he was like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I'm just trying something out. I don't know." And you know, every step of the way, I've always had the fear. I've always had to get like kind of pushed into a little bit of like encouragement. I've never sat fully on by myself until now and really believed in myself to do something. It's such an interesting thing to talk about because...
Do you know what's so interesting? I've recently recorded an episode with Dior, and who is my life coach, and I love having her on here because I love getting her perspective on like different conversations. And we were literally just talking about, it's that classic like feeling the fear and doing it anyway. Yeah. And somebody sent her a question and they said, how do I stop my fear getting in the way of what I want to do? And she said it's kind of like reframing that fear is a bad thing. Like you have to have a bit of that fear and it's actually good.
Yeah.
But it's almost like decreasing the amount to not let it stop you, but know that it will power you through.
Yeah. It's such good advice.
Yeah.
And all those feelings, everyone will recognise them in themselves, I think. You know, excitement and nervousness are the same thing.
Yes.
It's like
that's what I say to my kids.
You just try and think, I'm just excited, when you're like actually probably shitting yourself.
Yeah,
and you're like, I can't do this.
But either way, it's that energy that you know that...
It's a driver.
Yeah, and it's a driver. And at the other side of passing through that is only gold. Like, it is that feeling of like... Because whatever happens on the other side of it, you know that you'll either go, I'm pleased I give that a good go. And I've proved to myself that actually this next thing isn't so daunting now.
Yeah.
You know, that's if it didn't work out in the way that you wanted, but it was also there for a reason.
Yeah.
But then equally on the other side, it could be the best thing you've ever done.
It could be life-changing.
Exactly that.
And there's a few moments in my life that I think were life-changing. And
do you think that posting that video on YouTube is one of them?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. I really do. And I think there's like moments that I remember, and it's the fear that I remember because I pushed myself through it anyway, and then on the other side was gold. So I was working on counter, I was posting on YouTube and Instagram, and I was growing, you know, my followers online were growing at a really fast, organic rate,
right?
You know, slow and not even slow and steady. It was fast.
It was a real spike.
Yeah, it was like fast at one point. And then I remember I was sitting on counter and I was doing, because of my following online, I was back to back doing makeups. But when you're doing appointments, you can't sell product. You're basically sitting with one client, and then at the end of the appointment, they have to spend £55 to get their makeup done. Right, That's what it cost. But I was like, I'm not making my targets anymore because
there's so much
busy.
sort of FaceTime.
Yeah, so I was fully booked with appointments, and then again, it was one of my customers that was like, why don't you go and work for yourself? And I was like, I can't do that. I can't leave the brand. I love the brand. So I asked the brand, can I stay Monday to Friday? I'll make my targets, and then can I have Saturday and Sunday off to do appointments? And they said no. So I had to make the choice. I think that was a huge mistake for them.
I think it was a
huge mistake.
Big mistake, huge. But I mean, that's just that. You often hear that happens a lot, and I've heard that with nail artists and hair. That actually, it's just a sort of an archaic way of thinking. Like, keep hold of your best asset. Like, that makes zero sense to me.
Yeah, me too, honestly. But I was gutted. I was gutted because I really thought everything I'd poured into the brand would
lost
come
for
back.
them, a gain for you.
Yeah, it was fine in the end.
Yeah.
But I went freelance, and again, because of my following online, I was just fully booked every weekend.
And what was that jump like? Because going free, you know, as much as, you know, we can talk sort of through the lens of success now, but at the time when you're debating whether like, okay, I've put something to them, I've said I'd like to do appointments at the weekend, it's still kind of ripping the Band-Aid off and a brave thing to go, okay, well, I'm out. I'm going to go freelance then.
I was devastated.
The easier option would be to go, oh, okay, I've asked, it doesn't matter, it didn't work out, I'll stay where I'm comfortable. Like was you nervous to sort of pull the plug?
Yeah. Totally. And I think I'm trying to really remember what it was that made me make that decision, but I think it was autonomy over my life. I think it was being able to have agency over how I spent my days. And I realised I was like, oh wow, instead of working 9:30 till 6 on a Saturday, you know, I could take a half day and not have to ask anyone and just take the hit, you know. So I went from, making 50 quid a day on counter to 50 quid an appointment.
Yeah.
And then I never took a day off and had the rest of my life.
Yeah.
No, I remember just being so excited. And, the more I worked, the more kind of lucrative the business was. And I had a lot of fun as well, learning the ropes of being self-employed. That was something that I didn't really know what to expect making that move. But again, I think I've always felt like I can teach myself anything. And that's because of the kind of encouragement I had from my parents, which was, oh my God, you could do anything. If you work hard, you could do anything. Nothing's going to come along and be handed to you, but you can do anything. And working freelance, I only actually did that for a year because my socials just kept on growing. And I got invited on my first brand trip with Urban Decay to Los Angeles, and it went into my junk mail, so I just thought it was junk, because I was like, you've won a free trip to California.
Yes,
and I was like,
of course,
sure, okay, sure.
Yeah.
But it was real, and I had clients booked in on the days that I was meant to be away, so I was like, I can't go. And then I talked to some of my other makeup artist friends that I was working with, and they were like, are you nuts? You need to go and get in touch with them and move your appointments and go. All my clients were super supportive, obviously, and then that was it. I stopped doing freelance, and so many of my clients said to me, we wondered why you were still here. It was weird. Yeah,
That's
they were
the best compliment,
it was weird that you were still here.
Get.
But I still loved it. So when I moved on to the digital kind of space, what happened was, instead of me having these one-to-one encounters with either a client who was doing their makeup, or on counter a customer, on counter I had one brand I could talk about, and that was it. When I was freelance, I could use anything I wanted. I basically saw it as a way for me to serve the customer, just in a really different way.
Right.
So I just found the best of the best stuff, and I would talk about it online, and I would show people how to do their own makeup, and people would ask me questions like, oh, I've got hooded eyes, how do I do a smoky eye? And they were so engaging with me, and they still are. And I really did just see it as another way to serve the customer.
Yeah.
So
that's what you've always done, and it's almost putting it on rather than getting through, I don't know how many faces you'd get through of a weekend in a store, you're hitting so many people at once.
I figured it out between my years on counter and freelance. I think I've served something like 15,000 customers. Gosh. And every customer that I'd have, I'm chatty. So they would come in for a replan of their foundation, and I'd ask them, why do you like it? And what do you like about the bottle? And then they would say, well, actually, I hate the bottle that it's in, but I really like the foundation. And all those conversations, and I had so many of them. I didn't really realise that I was just kind of banking all that information. I remembered it all.
Focus group.
Yeah. And then when I moved online, it's the same thing. It's a focus group. But it went from, tens of thousands of people to hundreds of thousands to millions, and it was just insane. And that's a crazy journey. When I was a digital creator, influencer, I had the best time, made loads of great friends, and I kind of naturally started moving into a different direction.
Yeah.
Always wanted my own brand since working at Illamasqua, actually, not Estee Lauder, but Illamasqua. I think I maybe just had a different taste for it, and every product launch that we'd get through, I would look at and I'd appreciate it, but I would always think, that's a bit bulky.
You could, yeah.
Like that's a big step between shades. And I was just banking all this information, and I realised I think I always thought there was a bit of a expiry date on what I was doing. It came out of nowhere. Who knows where it was going to go next? I think if you're really agile and you can really look at the landscape, you can kind of tweak what you do. And content creators, there's people that I know that have done it for so long, and they have moved with the waves, and they are still amazing and super relevant, and they've pivoted the way that they do things. But it's inevitable that people kind of fall off, and then maybe they fall out of love with it because it changed. The landscape's changed. It's not what you did before, and it's not what you want to do now. So my passion's always been makeup. It's always been the customer. It's always been formulas, and it's always been about brand. I think having your own Instagram it's like your personal brand a little bit, right?
Yeah, it's like your sort of shop front, as
Totally.
it were. So you get invited on this Urban Decay trip. You then kind of, I suppose it's a bit of a light bulb moment, right? And then that actually maybe I can do a lot more in this online space rather than kind of limiting myself to what I'm currently doing. How quick did you realise that there's a big way to monetize that, because like when you're trying to reach people, you're discovering new things and probably actually enjoying making the videos and
I loved it.
finding it so refreshing. How did somebody have to say, like, Jamie, you know that this is like, was there that conversation, or did you, because a lot, we see now people saying, I want to be an influencer. Like I heard the other day, my 12-year-old friends are like, I want to be an influencer. And I think they kind of see it as this kind of shiny, quite glossy landscape that obviously comes with a nice lifestyle.
Yeah.
Was that something you knew that was at the time part of that?
No
Because I
way.
suppose Instagram hadn't really discovered it in that way yet.
No, and I think that there's a common thread, I think, between people that have done great.
Yes.
And it's that they didn't start it to be an influencer.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's not to say that it can't be an aspiration now, that
Of
we all know
course,
what it can
yeah.
lead to. But I would get home, when I worked 3 jobs, I would get home and film a makeup video at 11 o'clock at night and stay up and edit it and then post it the next day. And it wasn't for money. There was no money involved at this time. I didn't have, AdSense is something that you get paid through Google for YouTube, and I didn't have that set up because I didn't know, because I was like, I just didn't get it.
No one. Why was everyone gatekeeping?
Yeah, I was just doing it
up
for
until
free.
3 a.m. for free.
But I just loved it so much, and I couldn't believe it. I think it was the connection as well. It's so exciting to see when you bump into someone and they're reading the same book as you. And you're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing with beauty and makeup. Like, you start using a new product. Oh my God, I love that. I've just found that.
Yeah.
It all has the same feeling for me, just on a different scale. But I think that LA trip, I remember there was work involved in that. And I didn't have a manager, and I got asked for what my prices were, and I gave an amount that I thought was mental. And I remember thinking, there's no way. And she got back and she was like, yep, perfect. And I was like, okay. And I told my husband,
At that
I was
point,
like,
do you think, I think it's mental, but this is a big brand. Have I undersold myself? Because it's quite like, it's a bit of a stab in the dark if you actually have no idea.
so it turns out, and I made really fast friends with this PR. And we're still friends now. This was years ago now, but she was kind of talking to me, and she was like, so you don't have management? And I was like, no. And she was like, yeah, you're I feel like I need to tell you that you charged probably 10% of what you should have. And I remember my stomach twisted, because I realised I did not know my worth at all. And again, it's because of the authenticity. I loved what I was doing. I only talked about what I loved.
And also, you don't, at that point, you don't really know what's a piss take or not.
No.
Like,
And
you
I
don't
was-
want to just quote something and be like, well, we're never asking her again. How rude.
Yeah.
You know?
I know. And then I think, coming from my background, I don't talk about it a huge amount. I don't think, 'cause I never want to be a rags to it. I'm not.
Yeah,
but in essence, that's what also I know what it's like to not have much at all. And I always benchmarked my full-time wage working on counter against anything, and I still do that.
Yeah.
Because I know that I can be so happy and live off of that and budget. And I've always been really good with my money. The first ever nice bag I bought on a credit card that I signed up for when I was 18, because I knew it was good for my credit rating. And I bought this bag. It was half price in a sale, Vivienne Westwood, and I kept it in the bag for 3 months while I paid it off. Like, I'm good with my. I don't know where I got that from.
That's so incredible to have.
But I was only a kid, and so when it came to money and stuff, I'm not a greedy person. So when my friend told me that, I was like, what do you mean? And it was in the space of maybe 6 months, I realised, when I started putting everything into socials and stuff, I got really busy, and I was like so grateful every day, because I know I'll never forget what my background is and where, I know the value of things, and I was just so appreciative. And I was like, I love what I'm doing. Like, I'd do this for nothing, and I did it for nothing for so long.
Oh yeah, of course. But now this is kind of this is where you sort of get into that sweet spot of, like, if you find something you love, and like, it goes back to that being an art student and then doing somebody a favour and you find something you love, you never have to work a day in your life. And I think that's like the biggest example of that. Like, I'd have done it for nothing, but great, tell me more. How much should I be charging?
No, of course. And it's great, because what that led to, I had again, I'm like pretty sensible, and I think about what I'm doing. I just started saving as much as I could.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, I realised that if I put my head down and I really worked hard, I could have my own brand. And I thought I could fully self-fund it. And the weird thing about having a brand but already having customers waiting is you need to start pretty big. You know, your MOQs.
Well, you've got an expectation, not only like what you need to order because you need to facilitate the following and everybody that kind of buys everything else you already recommend, but actually because you're known for loving these incredible brands and the best of the best, girl, this brand better be the best of the best, which comes with a kind of added pressure.
Yeah.
So let's talk about how the brand was born and kind of, because you said before that actually when you was at Ilamasca, that's when it dawned on you that actually I like, you know, this brand inside I actually really love, and those kind of things that those improvements or those kind of tweaks that if it was yours, you'd perhaps do it like this. At the time when you, I suppose, saw it, you know, after the fact, it was like a bit of a focus group and years of, you know, there's changes that you would make. At the time, were you conscious of those changes in kind of thinking, because one day I'm going to have X, or was it actually just stuff that you'd sort of held on to? I
think it's stuff that I held on to, and because I genuinely am interested in what people have to say.
Right.
We would just talk about it. And I think maybe in a subconscious level, because when, you know, we've got a foundation and I knew straight away what I wanted for the pack, you know, I knew I wanted it to be a needle nose in a flexible tube that you don't have to really force to squeeze, but also not something that's going to spill everywhere. So I think there's a bit of a mixture, maybe in a naive way. I didn't realise that what I was doing was...
But at the time, it was, I suppose, more of a curiosity than like actually like, this is great. So when I, you know, actually being that conscious of it. So let's talk about that kind of light bulb moment that happened, because now you've, you know, skyrocketed the following, the videos, the appetite, which is what is the most important thing, and the kind of that engaged community. You realise that you're really onto something in terms of what you're currently doing. When do you think to yourself, or is that something that's brought to you, actually, I should be doing this for me and I should be launching the brand that I really feel is missing?
I think, I'm trying to remember. So it was 2 years before we launched. It was 2018 that I started really working on it, and we started working with, you know, different manufacturers and labs, and there was people that helped us in the start because we didn't have a big team at all. So you need, you know, help with distribution, and it was all those things that I really did not think about. All I thought about was the product and the way that the products looked and how they performed and what I wanted the brand to look like.
That was literally me, by the way.
So it's just creative.
Like, oh my gosh, I thought this was
and then it's all the other stuff, like ops and finance,
logistics and everything else in between.
That wasn't anything that I thought of. I just thought I'm going to just put everything that I can into making great product. And the first product that I kind of ideated was so selfish because it was stuff that I just wanted to make. Like it was like something I just wanted, the best neutral eyeshadow palette, and you know, powder highlighters were all the craze, and I wanted to make the best one. And then we launched during COVID with 10 lip SKUs, 5 lip liners and 5 lipsticks, and everyone was wearing masks. And I just didn't care. Like, and they flew, and it was nuts. But putting the kind of secret effort in, you know, knowing forward facing, I was still doing all my YouTube stuff, and I was still doing all the social stuff. It was during lockdown, so we were doing a bit of TV stuff for the BBC. So everyone that could see me from the outside just thought I was, you know, business as usual, but in the background I was working really, really hard on this brand. I really didn't tell anyone about it, and I highly recommend that. You know, just say less. Don't tell everyone all your plans when they're still in the kind of early stages, at least.
And why do you think that?
I think it keeps you really focused, and it stops you from letting other people's opinions affect your opinion on yourself and what you're doing.
That sort of outside noise.
Yeah. It's almost like if you just had I'm trying to think of an example. If you just had a great experience reading a book again, right? You loved it so much, it's your favourite book, and then you say to someone, oh my God, I just read this book. And they turn around and they say, I absolutely hated that book. And they start picking all the holes in it. This is a weird example.
No, I get it though.
You would talk about, but you know, a book, you didn't write it, you just read it. So it's not personal to you. But see if there's something super personal to you that you're working on.
It's like when they say you should never tell people the baby names or the ideas you have for your child.
I was really funny about that. I didn't tell any, not even my best friends.
Yeah, but because, and I remember I did it with my first, and it's funny how people can then put you off.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I knew a girl once that was called, oh, and she was terrible. No, don't do that name. Doesn't that remind you of, or it sounds a bit like a, and it's so true. And I remember my mum saying, well, you shouldn't tell anyone your baby names because someone will always put you off.
Yeah.
And I suppose maybe it's sort of applying that same sort of rule.
I think
it's hard to filter out the outside noise when you hear it. So you've got to be so confident in your own instinct and your own sort of gut.
And I remember when we launched the brand, because I'd kept it so much to myself, and I literally launched it. I think there was a team of 5 or 6 of us. My CEO, which we talked about already a little bit, like I knew I didn't want to be the CEO.
Yeah.
That my role is so much in the founder, and I'm the CCO, so Chief Creative Officer. So everything that you touch and feel and see and use and click on, and it's all of that is me. But we kept it so much to ourselves. So when we did launch, it was purely online because it was COVID, but that's my territory. Like, I felt really comfortable with that.
Oh, of course. I mean, that's
great.
Of course.
It was actually, and I remember thinking, and I think we all did, that launching in COVID would be the most difficult thing ever. Absolutely not. It was.
We launched in COVID. We launched My Little Coco in COVID.
And did you feel the same
way
at the
myself,
time?
first of all, because it wasn't the plan, was it? None of us went, do you know what we should do here, guys? Let's launch in a fucking global pandemic, because that, no one knew it was happening.
Yeah.
But our launch was always going to be, we launched, I'll never forget, February the 17th.
Yeah.
And then obviously COVID happened early March.
Oh, wow. So you were just before COVID?
We were just before.
Right, okay.
So we had like bells and whistles, and then the world went into... So
people were still washing their babies.
I know. And do you know what's so interesting? We launched, but we also launched with Boots.
Okay.
And they were a pharmacy, so they ended up being one of the only things that were open. So it was like supermarkets and pharmacies. And do you remember when you would just walk round a Boots because there was nothing else to do? So we sort of then inherited this like cult customer that was like, people, when they're on, the good thing about a retailer like that is they're quite a considered shopper. They want to look, they want to read, they want it's not like grabbing it on the shopping run because you need a bath wash. So we sort of inherited that customer that was really considered because we had nothing else to do. So I weirdly think that was kind of, it was great for us although we were scared at the time, it was actually something that ended up being kind of quite important to us as a brand. But it's
the same
it's
way.
crazy, isn't it? Like, actually, when you look back at the time, it was kind of like, oh my God, and we were kind of just
it was mad
fighting through. But when you look back, actually,
not so bad.
Yeah, and also for you, like you say, launching with lips when everyone's wearing masks. But actually, we all wanted escapism.
I've never done my makeup so much than during COVID when I was at home alone, and I loved it because I think it really showed that people do their makeup for themselves. No one was going out.
Yes.
No one was, people were just still doing it. And there was the other side, which people were just obsessed with their skincare and they did not wear a scrap of makeup. But for a lot of people that I know and a lot of my customers, they would sit on Instagram Live with me and do their makeup, and we would chat rubbish about what TV we were watching because we were all alone in the house.
And putting that face on makes you feel good.
Best. I love it.
And I think we were all hoping for like a brighter future, weren't we? So everyone's probably planning their look on their debut night out. Yeah. When Boris says we can go to the clubs again, like what are we going to do? I think it was kind of like perfecting that glam. Yeah. So when I pop out, I really pop out. We were so excited. So let's talk about, so you kind of, that you want to launch this brand, you've got the appetite, you kind of have almost a database already of people that are ready for you to do said brand. How does Jamie go about it? What are the first steps you make? Because obviously when being creative is your forte, everything else, like building it, raising money, if that's going to look like funding, or it is an absolute minefield when creativity is your strength. Yeah. So how does it start? What do you do first?
So the first thing I did was got help, and then that help was one of my best friends. She just graduated from Edinburgh Uni doing graphic design. Right. So I'm a bit of a tech whiz when it comes to certain things, but when it comes to other things, I'm not. And I might be great at makeup, but I'm actually not a brilliant artist. Like, I'm not good at drawing. Right. So she I asked her, do you want to work on this with me? And we work together so well. She still is in the brand. She's off on mat leave right now. And I miss her so much.
Mat leave's one of those things. You're like, I don't want to rush you because I want you to enjoy your baby, but I really want you back.
I know. And I'm like so conscious not to talk about anything to do with work with
her.
Like,
it's so hard.
Yeah, but I miss her so much. But we've worked together for so long now. And she basically took all my ideas and made them into something that I could visually see.
Right.
And that is so helpful when it came to working with labs and, colours. I didn't really know much about Pantones before working with her, and she was, we would lay it all out, and it just made it so easy and so fun.
Yeah.
Because she's such a beauty junkie too. And, even in the brand, she's called like my left brain because she knows the answers that I'll give before I give them.
Yeah.
So it means that people can ask Charlotte sometimes instead of me.
It's so important to have that, though. And when you connect with someone on that level and that can actually articulate what is in your brain.
Yeah, it's great.
It's like, oh God, before I've had to explain this 5,000 times and you've just got it,
And that's Charlotte. So we worked together, and again, it was really about the product. And once all that was done, I'd saved up as much money as I possibly could. And then I think we started working out figures. And again, I had more help. So I had my CEO at this point. And then I think the only other people that we had were social. But I just remember we figured out the numbers, and I realised that however much money I had was enough maybe for the first drop that would sell out.
Right, so you were self-funding
at the start. That was my plan.
Yeah,
no, it was my plan.
Right.
So we realised that I had enough money to buy like a drop of stock, and then we'd have to wait for the money to come in from that to then place orders, which means we'd be out of stock for however many months.
And down on the cash flow.
And that's just not the way that you want to start, especially you don't want to start a business and then just be out of stock for months and months. Mm-hmm. So that's when we realised that we needed funding. And that was a choice, that was a choice to make. Like I could have just funded it myself and had smaller drops but they would have just sold out. And I think, and
then the knock-on effect, if you're looking... A sellout is great, of course, because there's an appetite there, and then
But then you've got nothing.
And then people lose interest. They get impatient, and
they get pissed off sometimes. They get pissed off. So I remember sitting on Zoom, and I was so terrified because I didn't know what version of myself to be. I think that's the thing that really kind of messed me up a little bit.
And what was this in what sense?
Investor meetings. So when we were almost like dating investors, I remember thinking.
And you dated some investors at some really big companies as well, right?
Yeah, and the investors that we ended up going with, and I say dating because it's like dating. Mm-hmm. You're kind of like figuring out who's the right fit and who's gonna bring something to your business and what are they going to bring. But I remember just being on Zoom and actually being so grateful it was Zoom because I'm so comfortable online on screen.
That's your sweet spot.
So I was at home as well, so it just helped the process along. But actually, we ended up with Venrex, who were the really early on investors in Charlotte Tilbury as well, and it wasn't at all what I expected it would be. I didn't know what to expect when going into meetings with investors. But what I assumed was going to be a lot of suits, shirts and ties, and men that thought I was daft. Mm-hmm. And actually it wasn't that at all. I told the story. I told them about, what I'm about and what I want this brand to be. And they just loved it. And I felt really supported and I felt really encouraged. And I didn't once, I think I back then I did have a fear of feeling stupid because that's not my background. I've never been...
Well, it's alien to you.
Yeah.
You don't know. And also it's even little things like being in those rooms, being on those Zooms and not talking the same language. I remember I'm like, why does everyone abbreviate everything?
Yeah.
We're talking like about 3PLs and this. I'm like, what the fuck does that mean?
I know. And it's almost like you're just expected to know it as soon as you step foot in the door.
And then there's that kind of feeling stupid because you don't. And then I remember literally being like, Googling something off the side the side to be
what
like,
is EMV?
And I'm like, actually, it's quite sort of self-explanatory when you don't talk in a different language, but it is.
It's mad, isn't it? And I think that's something that I've never been scared to ask questions, and I think that's almost the opposite of feeling stupid. It's like, well, if I'm informed, then
it's empowering.
Then great, and you just need to be confident enough to ask the questions and not feel stupid that you don't know everything. Who would know everything?
Yes. And that's also, and I think. That's been my toxic trait as well before, previously, to actually not ask enough. And I actually really enjoy being a sponge and absorbing, you know, I've got incredible women that like I've learned so much from just by being around, and men too. But actually, there was a period of time where I felt stupid and, you know, was embarrassed that I didn't know. But actually, I was lucky that I worked with such incredible people that they kind of picked up on that. And then I became really brave and asked the questions that, you know, ultimately I need to know, because this is my brand and this is my baby. I need to know exactly how this is going to work. But it does.
It's a gear shift.
Yeah, it really does. It's really humbling. It's really humbling when you go from like doing something that you know the ins and outs of, and kind of you are.
It's like what you said, if you're flying,
Yes.
and then you kind of go back to baby steps, you're like, oh,
but I
what's
feel like
happening?
your brain needs that too. Like,
Definitely.
It's kind of, it would be a boring life to live in a place where you are the best at what you do and you are so secure in what you do. And of course that idea is nice, but it isn't a challenge.
No.
And I do like that. I
I think we all do.
I crave that. I mean, some days I'm like, why do I love the challenge so much? I just
know,
need,
I'm
I need
tired.
to rest. I'm tired.
Let me rest.
But it is so important, I think, to be able to keep growing.
Yeah.
So you meet with the investors, and then how does that look?
We signed the deal for the seed investment, which is the round of investment. And it's funny, I see, instead of just saying things and thinking, you know, wondering if people understand or not, I always assume that there's more information, the better.
Yeah,
so
agreed.
So the round that comes before the brand launches, basically. So it gave us the money to be able to order enough stock and also forward plan, something I couldn't believe. I made this launch collection and then it was like, right, and what's next? I'm like, what do you mean? What do you mean? What's
We
next?
focused on this.
I was like, I've not even launched this yet.
Yeah.
Can we do this first? And they're like, well, you need a plan. So that's when I learned, you know, you hear businesses working in February on Christmas. That sounds like hell to me. I am the dopamine addict. I want someone to sit in my chair and have an hour to do their makeup, and then that's a box ticked. Yeah. And then I've done it. And now we worked 1, 2, sometimes like 3 years ahead.
Yeah.
And you have to learn how to be able to dance between projects that have just launched, even though you made it last year. You know, it's just insane, the kind of like the run rates and things. But we signed that seed investment on my 27th birthday. And I was so excited. And it just felt quite surreal. We didn't launch the brand until November, so we had that time, and we put a lot of investment into our launch shoot because there was already commentary on influencer brands and them not being credible, or the products not having the quality, or them not having the authority to be in that space. And I remember, I'm a makeup artist from the start. I've always been obsessed with formulas. I've worked with so many customers, but being online, I actually don't know if all my community knew that about me. They might have found me later. They might have never cared.
Well, you don't know if you've got a follower when they stumble across you, do you?
So we started, that's the part where I've honestly, I feel like I've kind of winged it my entire, but like my career, and there's thought put into it, but because I'm so excited, I can just churn things out, and I've got an idea and I just go for it. And
you like to be reactive.
Yeah. And I've never, I remember someone asking me, what's your like social calendar like? And I'm like, I don't know. I was like, we'll see what it's like tomorrow. But so much, and looking back, I can see how much I've changed in a way that is so much better for me working. Like I have a plan now, and there's more structure to my days. And I think especially since having my daughter, you need structure and you need boundaries, and you need to be really clear with when you're doing certain things and when you're not. But
it takes you a while to realise that, though, doesn't it? It does. It really does.
Yeah. But when you figure that out, it's almost like you just kind of, it's almost like giving into it. Like, okay, and then it all starts to kind of work in a different way. So there's maybe, I was going to say less freedom, but maybe it's just less spontaneity, and that's okay.
Yes.
Find it where you can get it.
It's so true. It's so true. And as your life changes, you realise the focuses change. And even like as the business changes, the focus, your focuses will also change as it moves. And I think that is just part of it, and being kind of fluid enough to move as your life and the business moves. So in 2022, this is
2020.
So then 2 years into the brand, in 2022, you then raised the money.
So we raised again, which was a really different experience because the brand was, you know, it was there, it was growing. And this is again something like, I don't pretend I didn't do the due diligence. I can't even say the word. The due diligence
That is probably the hardest word to say, by the way.
I still can't say it. Due diligence.
Due diligence.
Due diligence.
Yes, there you go.
There we go. See, a good start. But my team, and by this point, you know, we're 2 years in, I can't remember what size the team was, but I think it was maybe 20, 25. But we've got quite a big team. They took the areas that they needed to do, and they did like so much of the work. When it came to the actual investment, you know, my CEO totally led that. And I was there, you know, when I needed to be. I was involved in the meetings to basically be a sponge and try and learn as much as I could. But I knew that's just not my forte, and it took so much time from the team to do that.
And trusting and knowing that you've got an incredible team that can do that, and that's their expertise. In the same way that you wouldn't expect, I suppose, your CEO to be blending formulas and coming up, like, there's a reason that everybody has a role.
I think people talk about this quite often, and being a founder of a successful business, I think that your ego needs to be left at the door. You know, you don't need to do everything for it to be a success. You know, your team's wins are your wins. You know, this is all my team. If someone's absolutely killing it, doing all the paperwork for raising more money, I'm like that. Go
on, girls. Yeah,
well
exactly.
done, but it's like, but well done you first and foremost, you know. So I think having a brilliant team and then micromanaging, or, you know, essentially clipping their wings, there's not a brilliant team anymore. So everyone on my team is phenomenal at what they do, you know, like, and there's specifics that I almost can barely understand, but like paid media and e-com, you know, I know what I want it to look like, but the actual functionality of the website, I don't know.
Oh my gosh,
I don't
no.
know.
Are you kidding me? No.
So there's no, like, I don't pretend that I do everything and that everything is a success story for me, because it's not, but essentially it is, because it's my business. But when I'm in my team, it doesn't really feel like my business, it feels like our business.
Yes.
And I'm not just saying that to sound like a nice boss, because I don't even call myself a boss. I really don't. Because it really, I went into the office today, no one knew I was coming in, and I just went and sat at the table, and we were all just sitting and chatting and getting our work done. And, you know, it was just so fun. It was so fun. But everyone has got their heads down and they're getting on with what they need to do. And we've got a lot of structure around that too. So we're all on the journey together, if that makes sense.
So what would your day-to-day role kind of look like now?
So it's a real mixture of things, and I've kind of segmented it as well. So the start of the week is always kind of full of meetings. So we do tons of approvals. So that's almost like a tandem meeting where or like a baton meeting where I go through every function in the business, and we have like a really considered catch up, and we go through approvals. So if there's any work that I need to see, or any ideas that I need to see before they kind of start getting built out, we'll go through that, and it'll be like, yep, no, what did you think about that? And it's really fun, and the team are used to it. It's really fast paced, but I work really well like that. So we do that over 2 days. And we've got big chunky meetings in both days. And we've got our weekly trade. We've got our senior leadership meeting. I've got my one-to-ones with my CEO, my CC, XO, my chief customer experience officer, and then we've got a meeting that's just about the kind of JG commercial side as well. So how my commercial work is balanced out with the VIEVE work. So the tons of meetings at the start of the week, and then I've got creative days where I get like briefed from the team. So we'll sit and we'll look at all the social plans, and we'll go through all those, and we'll see what we want for emails, website, social, if any press need content for their publications. If I've got to, like, I'm always writing interviews. I always just get sent questions, and then I'm tapping them up, whatever. And I find it really fun, because I think at one point I would have really liked to have been a journalist. But actually I actually wouldn't, because I did really shit in English when I was in high school. So it's really fun, and it's really varied. And then some weeks as well, you know, some weeks I'll be at home working remotely. Then sometimes I'm down and I'm doing stuff like this, or like different opportunities. And some opportunities I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to do that, it's too scary. And then I'll force myself to do it, and it'll be brilliant. And
then you'll be so pleased you did.
And then I'll be so pleased that I did. So, and you know, the team as well, they almost like laugh, because they're like, we've got something's come through. And I'm like, I'm not going to like this. I'm not going to like this. And it's not because, it's not because it's not brilliant and I'm not excited about it. I'm just like, I can't do that. Like, I'm nervous.
It takes you out your comfort zone.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I feel like if you think about your story, that first YouTube has
Running
always been
theme.
out of your comfort
Yeah.
zone, and like,
Yeah.
look what happens.
Yeah.
Right?
But it's funny, I think because of, I just don't think I'm maybe as extroverted as people think. Maybe.
Yes.
Like,
And I think that happens when people are sort of in the public eye or like online and you're accessible in that way. I think people assume that like you're going to be really confident or like, and confident you are, but I mean like you're going to be super outgoing and you're going to
Yeah.
want every opportunity, but actually that's your comfort zone and you're happy there.
Yeah.
And it's very different like doing a video on YouTube and like you're in your own four walls. It doesn't,
Totally.
when you post it, you don't really realise that there are so many eyes on it, right? Because
No.
it's such a kind of safe space.
Yeah, definitely. I did a thing recently and it was hosting, and I was so stupid and like naive because I read it and I was like, oh, so nice, I'll go and I'll have a chat with someone on stage. I didn't realise it was me hosting the event, so I had to go out on stage in front of, I don't know how many people it was, I think it was like 600, and introduce them to the evening and introduce the guest and facilitate a whole conversation. And I was like, I have never done anything like this in my life.
I would imagine you'd be so good at that though. You're such a good talker.
It was really fun, and then afterwards I actually was quite buzzing, and I was like, oh, that was nice, that was good. And then I was like, no more.
There's a theme here. There's a theme here. I want to just quickly pick up on that kind of first round of funding, because we often talk about this, and we had Ate Jewel, and who is incredible, we did a week of like lift off week, we called it, and it was so brilliant I've known her for a little while, but to really hear her story, because I suppose she's lesser known, but she's really trying to, she's going for it and she's really trying to get her message across. She's so brilliant. But she spoke about funding in the beauty industry, which can be really tricky to get and to have that access. But when she's got so many brilliant plans and she's got stuff ready to go, but when a product is quite expensive to get out, it can be quite a tricky one, as we spoke about before, that you can have enough for that first round, but if it sells well, placing that order until it's sold is quite difficult. So she was talking about trying to do another round of investment, which can prove quite difficult. Would you have any advice to other founders, but especially women, navigating that first round or indeed that second round?
I think the advice that I would give is definitely from the place that I sit when it comes to when we've raised.
How you raise, yeah.
And it is the confidence in what you're doing and the evidence to back up what you're doing is going to work or has worked already.
Right.
The kind of untapped opportunities that are going to have results, basically. So whenever I've sat down and talked with investors, I do my best to really kind of shed any anxiety that I've got.
Because it can be intimidating.
It's scary.
Yeah.
It's really scary. And it's also, you're up for, again, opinions. And it's like, what you can do. People say this often, don't they? That they get told no so many times and they keep on going back or they keep on trying. And then, and then it just works one day or they get it. I think it's taken the emotional side out of what anyone's got to say about what you're doing.
Yeah.
But keeping all the emotion and the excitement in what you're doing and loving it so much. And that's why loving what you do is so important, because even when it's really hard, that's what gets you through and that's what keeps you going. When it comes to talking with investors as well, the thing that they always ask is, what's your USP, your unique selling point? I used to hate that question. I used to hate it because I was like, just let me do it.
It's almost like, it's so true, and it's almost like if somebody was to if you was to have to be on an app to describe yourself, and it's like, sum up yourself in 3 words. It's a little bit like one of those questions when you're just soul dies a little bit. But of course you need a USP, we know that, but the delivery of that is a bit icky, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's also like so much the USP I think sometimes people think straight to product. What's different about your product? And at the end of the day, there's so much makeup out there. And there's so much skincare out there. But maybe it's the way that you talk to your customer.
Yes.
Maybe it's the way that you formulate ingredients.
Maybe it's you.
Maybe it's you.
Like full stop.
Maybe it's just you.
You're looking at her.
So I think the worst thing to do in a situation where you're talking with investors is alter yourself to be more palatable to them.
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, that's not what they're there for. They want to see what you are really about and what your vision is. And if you are a founder of a brand, which, you know, most of the time that's the situation you'll be in, they're investing in your business, but they really are investing in you. So I think that there's a lot of work to be done on oneself. Which is like a whole other thing. I think it's a pretty nuts oversight on my part when I started the business versus me now. Yeah. I think that
there's so much self-work to be done, isn't there? And actually, but knowing that, you just think you can turn up as, if you think about you then and you now, it would be a different person. Same core, but actually sometimes it takes a different person, and that's what growing is.
And there's tons that you'll learn about yourself, and especially in the difficult parts of having a business, but it's kind of everything as well. Like I think becoming a mum, for sure, you learn a lot about yourself, right? Yeah. But doing the work on yourself, you shed so much of the weight that holds you back. Yeah. And then you look back at things that you said or that you didn't say yes to, and you're like, oh my God, why? Yes. Because I was scared. So I think it's interesting. So that's my advice for investors. It's less about the numbers, less about the, I don't know, any of the kind of actual due diligence.
Yeah. But actually,
and more about you
don't kind of, like you say, make yourself more palatable to them. That's really, really important. Right, we'll do our rocket round now. Yeah, okay. I love this. So this is essentially supposed to be quick fire, but you're like me, you like to talk. So let's see how we do. No, I like it. It's good. With some things you need to elaborate on, but it's supposed to be quick fire. I say this to every guest because we start talking for over an hour, and I'm like, okay, fine, let's make this quick-ish. What do you believe are the non-negotiables for launching a business?
Passion. A plan. That's important, especially if you're not a plan man, which I was not a plan man. Team. Nice. Customer.
Yes. Yeah, it's fine. You can.
Top of the pops.
Yes. When did you first realise that you truly launched and you were onto something?
I actually think the day that we signed the investment deal on my birthday, it's my favourite birthday ever.
Oh,
for loads of reasons. The sun was out. But that day I realised that I think, you know, it's so important to believe in yourself, and at the end of the day, that's all you've got. But when other people believe in what you're doing, it's always nice.
Cherry on top. What's the first thing you do when you wake up and the last thing you do before you go to bed?
First thing I do is go and get my daughter, who's shouting, "Mummy!"
Yeah. Whether you want to or not, with your eyes shut.
So I go and get Rome's, and we go downstairs half asleep, and she starts chatting away to me. Last thing I do before going to bed, kiss on the cheek from my husband. Tell him I love him.
That's so nice.
Yeah, nice. All about the family, really, at the core of everything.
That's it. One piece of advice that you wish you hadn't listened to.
That's so good, that question.
Yeah. There's always something, isn't there, that you think, I wish I should have gone with my own gut on that and not listened to.
Maybe it's less about, I can't remember someone actually giving me this advice, but letting the plan dictate 100% what you're doing. Yes. Because if you get a gut feeling that something's not right, then something's not right. Yes. And things need kind of ripped up, and you maybe need to start again. Yeah.
One skill you'd love to learn?
Excel.
Me too.
Maybe. I see people, and I think maybe even graphic design as well. See if I could do some of that myself. Yes, that would be great.
I would really enjoy that. I say that. That's always when people answer these questions. That's always my answer. I'd love to learn graphics, but I also think I'd be dangerous. I don't think I'd sleep. No. If I did know how to do it, I'd just be like wired constantly, always at the laptop. Like, I know I would. We need to like give away those pieces just to
I think
keep
so.
our sanity.
I think so.
What's one thing you wish someone had told you before you started your business?
That's a good one as well. That it's a roller coaster all the time.
It's not. It's just not
Yeah.
plain sailing.
It's not plain sailing, but that's fine. And without the, the lows, you wouldn't get the ups.
Yes.
And not to be negative at all. It's just, it basically is like when it's a tough day, that's going to change.
Yes, and knowing that it's temporary. What would be your dream collab for the brand?
Oh,
I love that collabs are such a thing now.
I love them.
It's
I
so
love them.
like when you see two brands come together that you're like, oh my gosh, but yes, I get it. It makes sense.
Do you know, there's a few brands that I just love and think are so cool. And I've not properly fleshed out an idea, but I love Jenny Atkin.
Oh,
I just think she's amazing.
She's amazing as well.
She's a proper like icon to me. And then I really love. I quite like classic brands. Like my suitcase, I'm obsessed with it. I got it for my 30th birthday, and every time I use it, I feel so happy. And it's my Rimowa case.
Oh, yeah.
So chic.
Yes, I know what you mean. It's like
It just brings.
it makes you feel
joy.
There's nothing like traveling with some like a bit of luggage that you're like, ooh, yeah.
And then actually, I really love home stuff. I love Soho home stuff so much. And I think I kind of love VIEVE as a brand. We're a makeup brand, but because of the way that we talk with our customer and the way that we share things, we really extend past that all the time.
Yes.
So I quite love that they're kind of like, that's hair, travel and home.
Yeah.
There
you go. Yeah, love that, which is a big part of a person's life, they work. It works. If you could choose one female figure as a mentor, past or present, who would it be?
That's great. I actually think Jen Atkin, she's the first person that always pops up in my mind. And I've spent some time with Jen, and she's so forthcoming, and she really does just kind of bring the women up around her. Emma Grade.
Oh, she's incredible. Yeah. And again, the same, really, she always says this line about she's like opening the door and dragging women through it. And I think that is what it takes. And I don't know Jen, but I really get that from her following her on socials. She's really generous with her advice and sincere.
She's built like an amazing platform for hairstylists too. So
I've seen the highlight artists. Yeah.
So she's not gatekeeping at all.
No.
And she constantly, clients will come to her and she'll say, I'm not available, but this person from my team is. And it's just like sharing it all out. I think it's fab.
Yeah, I love it. But I do think, and I say this a lot, but I do think there's definitely a way, an American way, that's like networking is such a kind of is second nature to them, and connecting people is so, and I love that. But here it seems a little bit more gatekeepy, or
I think so.
If I give it to you, I'm going to take it from me, and that's just that's not what this is about. That's why we do this.
Yeah.
I ask each guest to leave a tip, one piece of advice, like a tangible, actionable piece of advice for ladies looking to launch. If you had something that you could tell our listener that's looking to do, I suppose, something in a similar vein to you, what would that bit of advice be?
I think that there's an actionable thing for sure, and it's to write everything down. And I don't mean like you can mind map and you can just basically just brain dump onto a page, but the real powerful thing I think is if you start writing and you keep writing for 7 minutes, don't think about what you're writing. As soon as you stop to think, just start writing. I'm stopping to think. If you write like that for 7 minutes, you start tapping into a subconscious, and it's unbelievable what spills out on the page. And when you're finished writing, just close your book, put it away, and then come back and read it later. And if you can, read it out loud, and it's amazing what you will tell yourself. Because it's not what you think. It's not sitting and writing down a story that you're conscious of. It's amazing. And I think what that does is it really helps you unpack things that need to be unpacked so you can just be completely empowered. So what I talked about a little bit about that, the kind of self-worth and feeling worthy of what you're doing and being excited about it and not letting your kind of blinkers down, so you can really go full steam ahead with a really excited energy. Doing that They sound kind of like separate, but they come together so much. And it really is about being empowered by what you're doing and your capabilities.
I love
think.
that. You're so right. Just writing for like writing's sake. Like,
When was the last time that you did
Yeah.
that? Like I hadn't done it since probably school.
Yeah. And everyone talks about journaling and like doing that first thing and last thing at night. But yeah, I've never had the 7-minute thing before.
Yeah, so if you set a timer even for like 10 minutes and you just keep writing, and you can write about like reflect, so it's reflective writing. So don't just write about, you don't need to write it nonsense.
A to-do list or,
yeah. But if you write about your day, or like say you're in work or you're working through a meeting or something and something happens and you're really ruminating on it, start writing about it and just keep on going, and it will unpack what it is that really bothered you about that meeting. And usually,
Love it.
What's the saying? You know, if there's ever an issue when you're pointing at someone, there's 3 fingers pointing back. So any kind of feelings that come up, it just helps you work through, and it helps you understand, you know, if you feel stupid, or if you feel, you know, annoyed, you know, stuff like that. It's amazing for unpacking that.
I love that. That's a really good tip. I love that. And then lastly, I always like to leave on knowing what you have for your lunch, because we talk about ladies who launch, but I like to know, I'm also a lady who likes to lunch.
I love lunch.
And it doesn't happen as often as we want. Sometimes it's like today, for example, I'm probably going to get there's a Joe and the Juice opposite, so I'll probably it's not an ad, over and get a little spicy tuna after this. But how does a sort of typical, if you're at the office or however that looks, how would you spend your lunch hour? What are you eating? Where are you?
So most of the time I'm at home. I love a sandwich. I love a sandwich.
Go on, what's in it?
Oh my God, a whole multitude of things.
Right.
I love a little bit of like rotisserie chicken.
Oh, girl,
shredded
this
up,
went bougie.
mayonnaise,
Yes.
some tomatoes and lettuce.
Oh,
Stunning. Egg mayo. Big fan of egg mayo.
Oh, good, yeah. I think it's underrated.
Yeah.
I don't like, how weird is this? I don't like egg, but I quite like an egg mayo sandwich.
The mayonnaise. Just
Yeah,
tops
it's
it up.
basically just mayo, isn't it?
Yeah. I love a cheese and tomato. I love it all.
What's the bread?
Oh my God, white Hovis, toasted bread.
Don't have to recline in your seat. There's nothing to be ashamed
that
of.
bright orange paper packet.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I hate sourdough.
Do you?
It's too hard.
Okay.
I always get a sore mouth. I know that's so particular.
Joric.
But as soon as I see it, I'm like that. No,
Thank you.
no. I'll give me a white bit of sandwich bread any day.
Do you see, this starts light, but everybody gets passionate.
Yeah.
When you start talking about lunch.
Actually, and favourite thing ever is
See?
a cheese and onion toastie.
Oh, yes, unbeatable.
Yeah.
With like one of those old school like Breville machines. Yeah.
Seals it in a little triangle.
And you put butter on the outside and the yeah, that is. Do you know what? Actually, I'm going to get a Breville for the office.
I think you should.
That would be great, wouldn't
They
it?
just stink though. It's a cheese and onion toast.
Yeah, we'll put a candle on. We'll put a candle on. Thank you so much.
It's such a
I've
pleasure.
absolutely loved talking to you, and you are bossing it in every sense of the word, and I love it. I love to see a good girl win, and looks like it's going incredibly well for you.
Oh, so are you. I'm so excited to be on this chair.
Thank you.
Thanks.
It's a new chair too.
No.
It's a new one. We're in a new home. Thank you. I love that. Don't forget to follow us on Apple and Spotify or wherever you get your podcast to make sure that you don't miss out, because next time we're going to be talking to another incredible lady who launched. If, like me, you're a watcher, follow us on YouTube, and please don't forget to like and subscribe.